Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, viewers who will be actually logging in later today. I really want to thank my guest today, a really special guest, someone that I've been trying to get in touch for quite some time. And thankfully, she's come around and said she'll be happy to do an interview. It's not like I'm not one of those those people. I'm not like Piers Morgan, and I do allow my viewers to actually speak. I'm not just like Piers Morgan, who only speaks and doesn't even allow the guests that he calls in to speak. Anyways, without further ado, my guest is really special today. Someone who's a backbone to school, someone that does so much in the back, and we don't even know what the work is until we have to follow the guidelines and procedures. So it's none other than Miss Nada Abdel-Fattah, and she's our in-house and legal compliance manager. I'm really, honored to have you on my channel today. I really want to thank you for joining us. Well, tell us about yourself. I have given a little introduction, so tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm sure maybe most people know who I am, but I was born in Sydney, but I've been raised in Melbourne, which maybe people don't know, until I was 25 years old and I moved to Sydney. I did law commerce, I skipped mine. I am an accredited mediator up until last year when I didn't renew it again because I thought I'll just leave that be, but I always wanted to add back to my experience given what I was working with. I've worked in private practice for 20 years and the last 4 years were at the diocese as in-house counsel and now at the school. Predominantly my experience was with a lot of the Royal Commission Child Abuse Matters and the church. So a lot of that kind of background, and that's why I thought I'd do mediation course as well, because it involves so heavily dispute resolution and pastoral care and being able to speak to people with traumatic histories. So, yeah.
Well, look, you know what? Before I go to the photo, you've touched to a point. I don't know if you know, I used to be an imam in the jail chaplain when I arrived in Australia back in the days. And that was the days when you spoke about the compliance issues, which you were actually dealing with church, the child protection issue. That was such a big issue that I saw scores of numbers of people actually coming through the prison system. So how do you go about that? That must be really daunting, a difficult time for you as well.
Yeah, it's really hard to read case after case, detail after detail, and work so closely with it. And in one of my first jobs in it, in the city, in working in this area, I had to be part of a lot of settlement conferences where you're sitting with a victim of abuse and you have to speak with them. And I'm a very emotional person. People see me as very hard and, these are the rules and everything, but I'm very soft. I cry in Kleenex commercials. So my biggest fear was that I wouldn't be able to hold it together the first time I had an interview. And surprisingly, when confronted with someone with all that history, you feel stronger for their sake. So it was very confronting, but I think it's given me, I guess, an ability to kind of speak with people that come from these histories and allow them to speak and have their say and things like that. Even though I'm essentially on the other side, I was acting for the church the whole time. But being able to speak with people to let them know that we're there for them as well, even if we are on the other side. But yeah, it's hard. It never got easier. I think if it got easier, then it's a problem. You don't want it to be easy, not when you're dealing with that kind of stuff.
It's really hard, and I really want to thank you for that, being on that side and really helping the families to actually speak about that difficult time. Well, God bless you. You're doing a great work over here as well. I actually want to take you back to the photo now. We see a really cheeky child over there. I'd say a bit naughty child as well.
Curly hair.
So when was that taken? I'm assuming you were in school back then?
Yeah, that's the school uniform that my mum got us specially made as well. They had like weird zips on them. And I think I was in, I don't even know, grade 1 or 2 or something like that. My hair looks like I was called Nest in primary school, Psycho Bob in uni, the lost member of Jackson 5, and that photo is the reason why these nicknames continued until I graduated from uni. So People don't usually realize I have curly hair until they see my daughter, which, yeah, she looks so sweet in that photo, I think.
Thanks to the advent of technology now, so you can have any kind of hair, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. Just unless I'm in the rain, that hair will come out. So I need the umbrella at all times.
Well, look, we always cherish our child photos, but there are always some photos that we don't want to be coming up because
There's a lot of those. When I was looking through to find a photo, this is the go-to I always find, but there were a lot of horror shows in there. And this is just the hair day. The other ones, we'll just keep them on the phone and in the cloud.
I actually want to ask you a question. I mean, there's so much I know now about you just in the few moments of this interview, and I can tell you what, you know everything, and possibly you try to be humble there, but there's always something that we always want to learn. I mean, mashallah, you've got a great career. You've done so much in such a young age. I must, my hat's really when you described your work that you were doing with the Christian church, and that is a highlight for me. But tell us something that you really always wanted to learn, something that you wanted to do always.
Well, I always wanted to do anything with photography, and I do that in my daily life, but I always wanted to do like travel, writing and photography. Essentially like Lonely Planet, but then they did it. So I love anything like that, anything that's creative but related to photography. I always wanted to play the piano, but just admire it now. The travel photos coming up.
The photography that you've done, is that the photography?
That's just a collage I did a couple of years ago of some of the trips that we'd taken. Alhamdulillah, we've been able to travel a fair bit before kids. With kids, it's been limited to more the relaxation holidays, but in terms of like European travel and things like that, alhamdulillah, we've done a bit. And that, I've always loved photography since I can remember, but when I was on holiday, that's all I would do, just take photos. And every photo I took in my mind was taken for a particular page in a photo book, planned ahead, like so that it would be this blog. I did a lot of like travel magazines as well for my own travels, so that there were different forms of how I record the travel. My sister says my life is like the Truman Show. My kids' life is like the Truman Show because it's almost live footage of them, but travel is, a passion.
And so you're kind of like Michael as well, and Michael happens to be in your team. Don't tell me you've actually traveled the whole world as well.
Not the whole world, no. When I heard Michael said he'd traveled the world, I started thinking in my head, okay, I've got a travel locations folder on my phone, so anytime I see a place I want to go, I add to it. But, inshallah one day. But mostly in Europe, Italy and Spain and France.
I must say you've got some really good art over there, like some I can see those photos, they're really done well. Well, having said that, now I'm going to ask you a difficult question because I am also a content creator and I do have a channel. Well, maybe I can ask you this question. What's a good camera to do video vlogging?
Well, nowadays the iPhone, the latest one, that's pretty much what we all use. Back then, I think even when the iPhones were out, I would still take a Canon. Canon was always my favorite. So I was traveling with the old school cameras. I only shifted to the phone probably in the last couple of trips because ultimately the phone capabilities started to outdo all the cameras out there unless you got the SLR out. I did do a camera photography course and bought the full-blown SLR and the kit and the lens and everything and did a course with that. But traveling with that, I never liked traveling with that bulky camera.
Yeah, because there's so much to do, you're right, with the lenses, with everything else. It's not easy.
No, it's not. And I'm a very obsessive person. Like I have a very obsessive personality. So I know that if I'm buying this camera and I'm going to use it, I need to use it to its full capability. And if I can't, I'll get very frustrated with myself, which is what happened with the SLR. Because if you're not looking at it every day, you lose that experience with it. Because it's got a lot of functions, but yeah.
Well, tell us something else. I mean, yeah, I know photography is a great thing, and it's really to bring out the nature. But there's something always something that you would like to do other than photography. What is something else that you would like to say?
I did always want to be a psychologist. It's more of an embarrassing story of why I didn't, because when I was putting my, selections of what to do after I graduated year 12, I couldn't, well, in the lead up to it, I couldn't really figure it out. And my sister was doing law, and I thought, okay, I'll put down law. And then in my and I kept looking, I'm like, what can I do with psychology? And I couldn't really find anything. And then in my second year of uni, I remember walking into a building for my psychology and criminal law class, the only psychology related subject, and realizing it was part of a course called Behavioral Sciences, which I didn't know back then was psychology. So in second year uni, I realized I could have been doing law, behavioral science instead of law commerce, which is what I did. And by then, I thought, oh, it's too late. I did look into it a lot more, especially dealing with the matters I was dealing with in law, and realizing I really did love that side of it, being able to help people and talk to them. But this is where I am, so I used that for mediation to become a accredited mediator. But yeah, psychology, if I could have done anything for photography, it would have been a psychologist.
Well, if only you knew it was called behavior and
it's so embarrassing, I know, and I acknowledge it is, and that's when I tell people, yep, walked into the building, loved that subject, realized it was part of behavioral science as well. But back then, in my defense, it wasn't as big. It wasn't as big as it is now, or encouraged as it is now. So that course, I'm sure many people knew behavioral sciences was going to get you into that degree.
Well, you know what, SubhanAllah, you've actually mentioned such a great point there. The vocabulary, the English language has been ever so evolving that, the names which used to be back in those days are not used anymore now.
And no, it's psychology 101. Easy, do it. You won't miss your life path won't change because of a stupid word.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct. Well, you know what? I've got another interesting photo of yours, and maybe you could actually tell us about. And because I love this photo for a reason. Maybe you can tell us about this photo. Very big reader. And I like books. Which books I see, I just like them. So tell us about that.
That's one shelf of a few shelves of the photo books that I mentioned earlier. So every trip that we take is a book. Back when I took my first trip in 2007, that was my first without the family trip with friends to Europe, which I had to beg for, by the way. And that was when the first of many photo books started for travel. And back then it was based on every city I went to. Now it's more the whole trip in a book. It's kind of expanded to kind of events as well. So state travel or different occasions. But for me, it's about capturing and always remembering things, because I've got a very good memory. But when it comes to my childhood, I have really blackouts and then memories and then blackouts. So I have very vivid memories, and then I can't tell you what happened in between. So I don't want that for my kids. I do whatever travel book there's a related, mini clip, 5 minutes of the whole trip, so that they can watch it every few months and remember, which people think I have a good memory about my holidays, but it's because I just watch these over and over. It's just about capturing every moment. And there's a lot of those photo books. I keep projecting and thinking, inshallah, into the future, how many years later, how many shelves I'm going to need. But it's
it's quite fascinating. I just realized they're not books. They're actually you are sort of a photo book publisher there. So these are your own done photo albums.
Yeah, there's books on the other shelves as well. There's novels there, but these kind of take over. We recently renovated, and the bookshelf was specially designed to accommodate the length of the photo books that they couldn't fit in when we used just the one purchased from the shop. So it was kind of designed around these photo books.
That's amazing. I mean, you've got I was thinking these must be some titles. Now I'm looking at them. The New York City 2015, and you've got on the top the entrance. I know entrance is a really loved place for you.
Yeah, my parents bought a holiday house there quite a few years back now, and it's just been where we go on, Easter holidays or Christmas holidays, and just a time to come together. And just looking back on the photos from the entrance, just seeing how the kids have grown there and how we've grown, or the garden has grown. It's good to have that kind of memory.
Well, that leads us to the next segue, and that's your. That is really amazing, and there's a lot happening. I mean, that's one of your hobbies as well.
Yeah, it all stems from the same place. This kind of obsessiveness that I have in anything that I do. That's a kind of making myself sound crazy, but if I know there's a party, even if it's a year later, my mind, I can't make it stop in planning in my head how it's going to look. It's the same with traveling. How's the book going to look? If there's a party, how's the party going to look? And yeah, they're just a few examples and they're all just for family and stuff like that. But yeah, if I have an idea in my mind, it keeps growing.
Well, look, we don't have to. I mean, I was just thinking, why do we have to get an event planner in for the next? I mean, we can just. I'm sure I can speak to Miss Mona and probably give you some time out, so you can plan for us now for all these other events that we're planning in the school.
Yeah, there's a understairs storage that only I'm allowed to use because it's all the boxes of party decor, party balloons, this and that. So that Barbie extra box was actually me going to a Cotton On at the shop and seeing it there and telling them that I want it. And they're like, I had to fight with all these other mums on a waiting list to get these things. Yeah, so if I put the idea in my mind and I see something while I'm walking, I have to have it.
I was just about to say, well, that Barbie box looks so creative.
Yeah, I tried making one out of refrigerator boxes, and I asked everyone that had a box, and it was coming together, but it was not that. So that one got thrown easily after I saw the real deal.
Well, tell us about something, something that you know well. There's so much things I've actually learned about you. You're a photographer, and you can plan events as well. And you're a lawyer. You've done so many amazing things early on in your life, and may Allah actually bless your life and make you more productive in the coming days. Tell us something that you know really well.
That I know really well. Oh my God. I don't know.
So many things. I've actually mentioned a list of them. Maybe something I've missed, something that you've been a bit humble there. And this is the time now, not the time to brag on some of the things that you know.
Oh my God. I can't even think of anything else. Sorry. I don't know. I feel like my life is always revolving around these things, the photography and things like that. So my mind always kind of turns to that. I think I could probably say I know people well, if that makes sense. I've often been told that I can read people and how they're feeling, and actually feel good that I can sense if someone's not happy or needs something like that. So I think that pops to mind just with my kids as well, just especially one of my daughters, just knowing that she doesn't express her feelings. So just being able to look at her and knowing what she's thinking and feeling and how to make her feel better. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. I mean, it's just the behavioral science part that you missed when you were choosing your majors.
Yep.
You had it built in you, but you know what? There's, as you know, we live in the West, and it's never too late to pursue your dreams. Now you know what's called, and this time you can fill around the application.
Yeah, no, I did look into it and found options, but look, alhamdulillah, the school, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders when I left the last job. It was a great experience, but in terms of the environment and everything, it's like a family at the school. I have my kids there, but it's also a family with my colleagues. So it's really a blessing to be there, working there in this capacity.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's such a great place. I mean, we know everyone. It's a small place, and the more it grows, and may God bless this place. But as you said, when it's a small place, we know everyone. It just feels like your house. I mean, I'm here 5 days a week. It's kind of like I spend more time with the people over here than I spend. And one of the other things, I spend more time with my children as well, because they come over here, all of them. So I'm actually with them all the time. So I tell you sometimes, you know what, I need a break from them.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing to be able to see them grow and develop at the school, but they have interrupted me on Zooms before, like important Zooms. So, there's a balance in being there all the time, but alhamdulillah, it's
We need to strike that balance.
yeah.
Well, you know what? One thing you didn't mention, because you holiday a lot, I'm assuming you're a good holiday planner as well. So you know the deals.
I can hear my sister laughing in the background because she always makes fun of me about that. I love a good spreadsheet. The first trip that I did after I got married was a lot of places. Alhamdulillah, we went to a lot of destinations. There were a lot of train trips internally and flights. So there was this big spreadsheet, and every row had the documents attached, and then I kind of presented that to my parents so that they knew where we were at all given times. I've done the same for people who have traveled as well, so that as soon as I hear someone's traveling, I'm like, do you need help? And then I'll send them an itinerary, because even if I'm not traveling, I feel like I'm traveling if I'm doing the plan. So yes, I am a planner.
Well, I'm glad I'm actually planning the Umrah with you. So definitely I'll be using your skills on that one. And on top of that, next time I do need discounts, when I have to go see my parents in London, I'm definitely coming out to you just to get her over there.
No worries. I'll start the spreadsheet soon.
Well, look, I've learned so much about you. And that brings me to my final question. Tell us something surprising about you. You've actually surprised me throughout the interview. Well, now you can actually surprise me more. I can tell you, I didn't know all that things that you've said to me today. I just thought, when you think about a compliance person, that the image that comes to mind, that angry person who's sitting behind their computer and with that stick in their hand. You haven't done that training, and I've been sending you these reminders.
Yeah.
Get that training back in 2 days or so, and I'm actually sending you another email. I'll tell you what, I've actually warmed up, and I know, like, even if I don't do those training sessions on time, I'm sure you do have that lighter side about you, and we can walk around with you and hopefully get another extension on that.
Yeah, no worries.
More, surprise me more. Tell me some other surprising facts about yourself.
Well, speaking of, compliance and all of that stuff, I guess people do see me as, and I am very risk averse, plan by the book, all of that stuff. But when I travel, or when I have traveled, it's like this other side of me, things I wouldn't do in Australia and will never do. Like I haven't bungee jumped, but it was like a controlled bungee jump off the Stratosphere Tower in Vegas. I did that. I did another kind of, I don't know what it's called. It's like this weird dead drop jump in Toronto. I do a lot of daredevil-y things when I'm traveling, so I do throw that risk kind of factor out the window. When I'm overseas, I feel like if I'm there, I'm going to experience the most of it and everything, and then I come back and compliance.
Well, dead drop jump, tell me about that. That sounds crazy.
That one, see, the jump off the tower was less scary than the other one. The tower, I actually think I did black out for a minute because I don't remember getting to the top. I remember jumping, and they told me later they were trying to talk to me and I wasn't answering. So I was very scared. That one was you drop and it's controlled to the ground. Like it's not controlled, it's like a fall, and then they just stop it right before you face plant. But the dead drop one is like an arch, and you're lying on a fabric mat with a harness behind you, so you're like that, and they elevate you to the top of this arch tower, and then they just release a harness, and you just literally just fall, and you feel like you're not even in the harness until you get straight to the bottom. And the video, when I watched it again a few months ago, was, because I do watch everything all the time, it shows people running from the fence because they thought I was going to hit them. That's how close to the ground it gets. And you see people going, I'm screaming, they're screaming. So that was horrific, but amazing at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. That sounds like if I miss a compliance deadline at
You're
school
on that. You're on that one. You're off to Toronto to come from that thing.
and I'm
I think what
coming
it's called.
down, and then I see you and you say, "Look, don't worry, I'll give you another day." So
No worries.
you just saved me from hitting the ground. Well, look, surprise! You know, we always have these surprising facts about ourselves, and we don't remember that. But having you said you're such a compliant person, but when it comes to your daredevil hobbies, you really don't care, and all the compliance just goes out the door. Is there
Temporarily, kids don't listen to this.
is there anything else you want to surprise us with the viewers that we listen later?
No, I think that's all. Yeah. Oh, actually, I was in a Girl Guides commercial when I was in high school. We all thought it would be this amazing break into fame. It was the most embarrassing part of my life and a constant butt of jokes with all my family and friends because it was a Girl Guides commercial where we stayed there all day for 10 hours. We stood on phone books at the time. Back in the olden days, there were phone books to elevate our height in the Channel 10 studios, and we got paid in a movie voucher to Cutthroat Island that I still to this day have never watched. And the only image we have of it was like a 5-second commercial, is the most awful photo in the world that my parents laugh at. So if they can't see the beauty in it, it's a very embarrassing moment. But yeah, that just popped to mind for some reason.
Well, that's so slack of people giving out movie vouchers to come on a commercial.
It was all day. We were young. It was all day.
10 hours for a movie voucher. That is child labor.
It was child.
Well, you need to pick out your compliance work now and write a letter to these people.
Protection.
Well, tell us something else. Actually, give me an advice. Give all of us an advice. I've learned so much from you today, and I'm sure that people that we listen later, they'll be learning so much as well. And I just feel these interviews are so important because we're one family, and we work together every day. But we don't know about people's life until we really go and have time to sit down and to chat with them. And this gives us an opportunity to know about people, and we can actually, watching them, we can go and then relate to someone, and it's something that someone else does, and then they say, oh yeah, you know what, they also do the same thing, or I should go and talk to them. So yeah, give us an advice. I mean, you are definitely one of the leaders at school, and advice coming from the leader to all of us is something important and something that we look forward.
I think just be kind to people, and hopefully I don't breach that, but be kind to people. We don't always know how people are feeling that day or why they might be a bit on edge, or don't take things personally. That's advice I need to take myself as well. But yeah, just be conscious of other people's feelings because it might not be their best day, and the way you interact with them might end up making their day one of the good ones. So, yeah.
No, it's amazing, that advice that you gave, especially kindness. Kindness is something so important even in our religion as well, that it just goes a long way. It's just that if we are kind to people, we can just we can unlock so many barriers when we're starting to have that first kind of communication. Well, now is a fun part for me, not for the people who are actually.
This is why I said no, because I get very nervous being put on the spot, but as you've seen in this interview, because of these quizzes. So hit me.
Well, look, give me 1 second. I will actually put the fun part. You don't have to be nervous. It's just all in. Understand, and I'll tell you this. There's only I think like I would say 85% of people have got this wrong. And trust me, to give you more motivation, if it was me as well, I'll get it wrong 100%. It's fun for me. Why? Because I get to do it, and I'm not answering them, so that's why it's fun.
Exactly.
All right, let's just go to the quiz of today. I'll listen to it carefully. I'll give you all the time in the world to actually answer it. And the next sound that you'll be hearing is the quiz. And let me just mute myself so that you don't get an echo in the background.
Question number 1. A rooster laid an egg on top of the barn roof. Which way did it roll? Try to guess in 10 seconds.
Which way did it roll? Laid an egg on the barn roof. It just fell off the roof.
Fell off the roof. Okay. I think that's a very good answer. It's actually a good answer. Let's see. Let's see if it did fell off the roof.
Do you have your answer ready? It doesn't matter which way you chose because you're wrong. Why? Roosters just don't lay eggs. Props to you.
Yeah, see, every time I always listen to the quiz at the end and I'm like, I'm going to get it this time.
Well, that's right. Roosters actually don't lay egg. But you know what? When you're put on the spot, it just rolled off the roof, which is actually a very logical answer if they did eggs. I must say, look, I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to speak to you. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to actually allow me to interview you and to, be part of your life for that little moment and to share this great journey with other people that we listen later on the school channel. Thank you so much for your time today. And you have a great rest of the day.
You too, inshallah. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.